Hello, dear friends. Welcome to my channel. Today, we will discuss some important questions from chapter 2, that is patriotism. We will discuss the questions which are in the book. ଆମେ ଆଜି ସେହି ସବୁ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରିବା ଯାହାକି ବୁକ୍ର ବା ଚାପ୍ଟରର ପଛପଟେ ଦିଆଯାଇଛି। ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ଆଜିର ଭିଡ଼ିଓଟି। ଯଦି ତୁମେମାନେ ପୂର୍ବ ଭିଡ଼ିଓ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଦେଖିନାଅ ତାହେଲେ ପୂର୍ବ ଭିଡ଼ିଓ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ମୋର ଚ୍ୟାନେଲ ମୋରାଲ ଟିଚିଂ PNCକୁ ଯାଇ ତୁମେ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଚାପ୍ଟରର କିଛି ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଲଙ୍ଗ୍ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଏବଂ ମଲ୍ଟିପୁଲ୍ ଚଏସ୍ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ସବୁ ଭିଡ଼ିଓରେ ଅପଲୋଡ଼ କରିଛି, ସେଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଦେଖିପାରିବ। ଏବଂ ଦ୍ୱିତୀୟ ବିଷୟର ଚାପ୍ଟର 2ର ମଧ୍ୟ କିଛି ଭିଡ଼ିଓ ମୁଁ ଅପଲୋଡ଼ କରିଛି ମୋର ଚ୍ୟାନେଲରେ, ତୁମେମାନେ ଦେଖିପାରିବ। ଯଦି ତୁମେ ପ୍ରଥମ ଥର ମୋର ଚ୍ୟାନେଲକୁ ଦେଖୁଛ ତାହେଲେ ମୋର ଚ୍ୟାନେଲକୁ ସବସ୍କ୍ରାଇବ୍ କର ଏବଂ ଅନ୍ୟମାନଙ୍କ ସହିତ ସାଙ୍ଗମାନଙ୍କ ସହିତ ସେୟାର କର। ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ଆଜିର ଭିଡ଼ିଓଟି। ଆଜି ଆମେ ଏହିସବୁ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରିବା। ଡିଫରେନ୍ସିଏଟ୍ ବିଟୱିନ୍ patriotism and nationalism. Question number 2. How did the term patriotism evolve from the word patria? Third question. Conceptualize good citizenship. Question number 4. Discuss constitutional patriotism. Question number 5. Distinguish destructive and constructive patriotism. And question number 6. Write different meanings and definitions of patriotism. So let us discuss these 6 questions from chapter 2 of Ethics and Values, second semester. It is very important for arts, commerce and science students. So question number 1. Differentiate between patriotism and nationalism. The difference between nationalism and patriotism are: nationalism involves national identity, whereas patriotism involves social conditioning and personal opinions. Nationalism is little aggressive by nature, whereas patriotism is little passive by nature. In nationalism, people consider their nation as superior to other nations. In patriotism, all nations are considered as equals. Nationalism unites people against a foreign hostile nation. It unites people against a common enemy. Patriotism unites people for the overall well-being and prosperity of the nation. In nationalism, the sentiments are more inclined towards sentiments and aggression towards other nations. In patriotism, the sentiments are more inclined towards the idea of peaceful coexistence between nations. Under concept of nationalism, people find it hard to accept criticism towards one's nation and considers it as humiliation or an insult. Under patriotism, there is more tolerance towards criticism and tries to incorporate improvements and changes for the better. Nationalism gives more emphasis on the heritage, culture, and language of a nation. Patriotism gives more emphasis on the values and beliefs of a nation. Nationalism tries to find justification for the mistakes done in the past. Patriotism does not try to justify mistakes, rather they try to understand the shortcomings and make improvements accordingly. It is the answer of question number 1, that is difference between patriotism and nationalism. nationalism ଏବଂ patriotism ଭିତରେ କ'ଣ କ'ଣ difference ଅଛି ଆମେ ବାଁ ପଟେ ସବୁ nationalism ର ଯଦି point ଗୁଡ଼ା ଲେଖିଲେ ଏବଂ ଡାହାଣ ପଟେ patriotism ର point ଗୁଡ଼ା ଲେଖିଲେ. Now question number 2. How did the term patriotism evolve from the word patria? The word patriotism derives from the Greek word pater, which means father. It indicates a sentiment based upon loyalty to one's parent. On the basis of the word pater emerged the Greek word patriots, which means a fellow countryman, and the word patria, which refers to a fatherland or country. Simply, patriotism is a virtuous feeling of love, pride, and sacrifice for one's nation and its people. Now, question number 3. Conceptualize good citizenship. Good citizenship is when one properly fulfills their role as a citizen. Citizenship is a relationship between an individual and a state to which the individual owes allegiance and in turn is entitled to its protection. Each state determines the conditions under which it will recognize persons as its citizens and the conditions under which that status will be withdrawn. Recognition by a state as a citizen generally carries with its recognition of civil, political, and social rights. The good citizen is characterized as one who, through his behavior, proves himself one worthy of the love and protection of the government rather than one possessing certain political obligations and rights. Good citizenship involves multiple components, including values, norms, ethical ideas, behaviors, and expectations of participation. Some of the attributes of good citizenship include voting in every election, learning about the country's history, showing respect for government institutions, engaging in constructive political discussions, participating in peaceful protests against laws believed to be unjust, taking part in activities to benefit people in the local community, engaging in activities promoting human rights, involving oneself in activities to protect the environment, obeying the laws of the land, being morally not evading responsible payment of taxes, showing solidarity with others. Question number 4. Discuss constitutional patriotism. Constitutional patriotism means having feeling of devotion for the constitution of one's country rather than any particular society or nation. Constitutional patriotism consisting in love for one's country and belief in its doing. Our heterogeneous country needs to be strongly united. Constitutional patriotism is the best solution as the Constitution treats everyone equally and prohibits discrimination. Some directives of constitutional patriotism which all of us need to obey include respecting the national anthem, the national flag, national symbols, national cultural heritage, participating in national elections, protecting national property, and above all, respecting and obeying constitutional values of the nation. Question number 5. Distinguish destructive and constructive patriotism. Or this question can be of this type: discuss types and features of patriotism. The answer is, on the basis of form and nature, patriotism is of various types. Generally, the nature of patriotism is either positive or negative. Mainly, patriotism is of two types, that is, destructive patriotism or blind patriotism. Second is constructive patriotism or genuine patriotism. First, we know about destructive or blind patriotism. Blind patriotism is defined as a relationship with one's country characterized by rigid definition, staunch allegiance, and intolerance of criticism. Blind patriotism is unwillingness to criticize and to accept criticism of one's own country. Then know about constructive or genuine patriotism. Constructive patriotism is defined as a relationship with one's country characterized by flexible identification, support for constructive criticism, and a desire to implement positive change. Constructive patriotism is a willingness to criticize and accept criticism for own country in order to bring about positive changes. So, from the discussion, we conclude that blind or destructive patriotism is dangerous. A society has the power to limit the bad effects of blind patriotism. It largely depends on society's moral and human values. So, moral and human values in students will promote constructive patriotism. Now, question number 6. Write different meanings and definitions of patriotism. Meaning of patriotism. The word patriotism derives from the Greek word pater, which means father. It indicates a sentiment based upon loyalty to one's parent. The Greek word patriots means a fellow countryman, and the word patria, which refers to a fatherland or country. Patriotism is defined as a strong attachment to one's homeland. So, definition of patriotism is: patriotism is love for or devotion to one's country. Patriotism is virtuous feeling of love, pride, and sacrifice for one's nation and its people. Patriotism is an act of courage and sacrifice for one's own country. So, dear students, this is the answer of 6 important short questions, that is analytical type of 2-mark questions of the chapter 2, that is patriotism of your paper ethics and values, which will appear in second semester examination. I hope this will be helpful for all of you all. Thank you. Subscribe and share with your friends.